Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Crimes, Killers, Cults,
and beer.
And warm beer.
Yuck.
Yeah. I cranked my fridge here down to 0 and everything, hoping it'll speed up the process, but it hasn't yet.
No.
So, I'm Bill, and I'm gonna let you already know who the co-host is if you're watching the video, because he's been on the last 2 episodes prior to this one, so he's been on 3 in a row. So, but he came up with a title, so I'm just gonna let him introduce you.
Hold on, I got to get it pulled back up because I forgot what it was. I'm the temporary relief assistant co-host.
Right. Kevin. Kevin.
We're gonna go full Trailer Park Boys and call myself the temporary relief assistant trailer park supervisor, but unfortunately, well, I mean, I guess unfortunately, I don't really know.
Well, it's Kevin, the history goon.
Yep,
Carlton.
That's
me. And yeah, I'm glad he's been on these past couple episodes, and I'm sure he'll be on more moving forward. And
and I'm where I can, for sure.
I'm going to be on episodes of his from time to time, because the History Goon podcast, as we told you in the last episode, is up and running.
Yeah, finally.
Actually, it wasn't the last episode. It was the previous episode before the last episode.
Yes.
Remember? Because it's confusing.
But as of the time this releases, I should have 7 episodes up, because this is going out, tomorrow?
Hopefully.
Yeah, so I should have episode 7 up at some point tomorrow. It should go up. But yeah, I've got plenty. If you want to listen to some weird shit in history, I'm your guy.
I'm telling you, people, the History Goon podcast, the way he is on here with me, that's the way he is on his own podcast.
Pretty much, yeah. Definitely.
I mean, I looked. He has more podcasting experience in the podcast sphere than I do. So,
this is outside of work, Kevin. This is like the real me. Whereas, like, at work, I have to be like, very polite and whatever, and like, nah, I can just be me, where I can have fun and slap ass around a little bit. So
yeah, but still, I mean, I've listened to a couple of your episodes already and everything, and yeah, it's good stuff. But I heard the first one a long ass time ago, and I freaking I loved it. Good things and credit. And by the way, congratulations for getting on with 1159 Media.
I appreciate it.
Our studio audience loves you.
Mine does too. The empty room behind me and all my books. It's just things finally turning up right for me after a long time of nothing working out. So very, very happy and very, very thankful that I'm part of the family over there. And a lot of good shows. Go check them all out. I mean,
definitely.
My show's good. There's better stuff than me there.
Oh, no, never, no.
Well, it's better in different ways. We'll put it that way.
Well, yeah. I mean, if I'm on a network with a podcast about needlepoint, obviously that they're going to be better at talking about needlepoint than I am.
Yeah. Because, like, I mean, Op puts out better 911 call stuff than I do, because I struggle with a lot of 911 calls because I grew up watching Rescue 911 and, like, man, there's something about it where it's just like, oh, this is triggering something, like I'm having anxiety, and then he always does like a fun one at the end. It's like, yes, yeah, I can leave not sad,
like the kid who called 911 for help with his math homework.
My favorite one that it was years ago on his show. It was this little, like, 80 or 90-year-old woman that called the cops because she was having an emergency. She was trying to open a beer and she couldn't get it open. And the operator's like, ma'am, this is an emergency line. Like, yeah, I don't have anybody to talk to. I lost my husband. She's like, I'll send somebody over. And like the cop went over, like cracked her beer for her and like sat there and talked to her for a little bit. Like,
I've listened to a lot of the 911 calls episodes.
Like that makes me happy.
Yeah. But anyway, before we get into this, I have a rant. I have a bone to pick with somebody.
Yeah. Hopefully it's not me.
No, it's not you.
Good.
Unless you're this person that I'm not going to mention. I'm not going to give his YouTube page any publicity other than what he said and explain why it's fucked up. So, this guy who shall remain nameless made a post on our Ricky Casso episode. And that was an episode from a long time ago, and it was an episode with Todd. So that tells you right there that this guy wasn't finding the podcast organically. He was searching for Ricky Casso specifically. Mm-hmm. So what he says
he got a thing for him.
Yeah. He's I'll get to that. What he said was, the dude who thinks he's funny but isn't makes this impossible to listen to.
I love people like that.
Yeah. So, but like I said, this guy didn't stumble across my podcast. He was looking for Ricky Casso. And, if you go to the Ricky Casso, there's people that have like given me shade about it and everything. They just basically say they didn't like the episode. I didn't feel it necessary to call them out. But this guy, yeah. I mean, he's a freaking Ricky Casso fangirl who just, like, oh, yeah, Ricky Casso, he's my Lord and Savior and all that stuff.
You said something mean about my hero.
Yeah. So you know what? Screw this guy. I'm not even going to tell you, it's on the, I'm not going to tell you his name, but anyway, he made the comment on the audio thing on YouTube for the Ricky Casso episode. So,
and it's one thing to come with a negative review if you have a good reason for it,
mm-hmm.
right? I mean, I'll take constructive criticism all day long.
Right, but don't come at me. Don't come at me.
If I got something wrong, and you tell me about it, that's fine. I'm not going to get mad. But when you throw a negative review because you just found something that you're way into, that because somebody said something even slightly negative about it, that you're going to lose your mind, that's where I'm like, that's a
and why would you worship a guy? And I got this crap from off of the Danny Rolling episode as well. It just there's these certain killers out there that have this dedicated. It's like the people that followed Manson.
Yeah.
It's just, why would you freaking waste your time talking about that? What if some of the people that this guy killed, Ricky Casso only killed one person, but it was at the beginning of the Satanic Panic, so it made like huge news. But still, why would you attack somebody who was just basically saying what this guy did? And make yourself look like a freaking idiot too. Now this guy's a freaking musician. Now he doesn't know that I'm a musician because he didn't find the show. He Googled, he searched YouTube for Ricky Casso, and he found my episode. So, but I actually listened to a couple of the songs that he has on his band's page. It's from his band's page. And you know what? They're good. They're a good band. They are. I liked it. But I could have actually made a post under his page saying, hey, the guy who tries to sing can't, which makes this song impossible to listen to. Because see, you know what? I could be a fucking internet dick too.
Yeah. This guy's a talentless hack. So there.
Yeah. So it's just, but I'm not going to do that.
No.
But, but the thing that kills me the most about this guy's a musician, which means he's a content creator. I'm not going to, I don't care what I think about something. I'm not going to come on somebody's page with their art, with their creation, and say that it sucks.
Right.
And you know what?
Because there's no need for it.
Yeah.
You know?
And the fact that, I'm a musician too. I've probably been at it a lot longer than he has. But the thing about it is, it's just, you don't do that. You don't freaking shit on somebody else's art, especially if they're in the same type of thing that you are. Because you know what's going to happen? You're going to get called out anonymously, like is what's happening to this fucking chucklehead right now.
And like that's
I'm not even pissed off. I'm just pointing it out because it's just like, stop it. Don't fucking do this to other content creators. You as a musician, you're a content creator. I, as a podcaster, am a content creator. But you know what? I'm also a musician. You're not going to come on my page and, I would hope that you wouldn't come on my page as a fellow musician and tell me that I suck. I wouldn't do that to you. In fact, I just told you that your music was pretty good. I liked it.
I think that's part of the problem with the internet as a whole, is it's very anonymous, and you can just, I mean, I think we're all guilty of it. You can just kind of do whatever you want because
I have never ever blasted another content creator, whether it was a musician or a podcaster or whatever. I've nenever once done that. I mean,
I've definitely had a couple that I've wanted to, and I never did.
Yeah.
I've never blasted them on the internet. Like,
right.
Ranting with a friend is a completely different story, but
yeah. Leave the cheap shot comments and stuff like that. And I've gotten a lot of cheap comments and everything, specifically on the Ricky Casso episode, from other fangirls like you who shall remain nameless. But the thing is, they weren't content creators. They weren't musicians. You are, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah. Keep your opinion to yourself once in a while, Whoa.
Just mic drop.
Oh, okay. I was like, what did I hit? Like, I don't think I touched my microphone.
And
that's the other thing.
Don't blast other content creators.
It's a free product. If you don't like it, you don't have to consume it.
Right.
I
don't even care. Like, I mean, it's just like, you know what? I mean, this is only the second comment like that I've actually blasted. The first one was like a 1-star review on Apple from T Marie 13. She said that we were boring and monotone, which I don't get. I'm not monotone.
Oh, we can be boring and monotone if we need to.
Oh, Todd and I freaking made fun of her like during parts of the episode, especially on the exit monologue. We were like, "Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. Until next time, later." And then Todd was like, "Cheers, everybody."
Just completely like lobotomized.
That's monotone. That's monotone. We are not. I'm not
into
monotone. I'm all over the freaking scale here with with how I'm talking. I'm anything but monotone. Anyway, stop doing that, people. I mean, leave it to the people that aren't content creators. Don't call out other content creators. It makes you look bad. And by the way, that was the Ricky Casso episode on the audio portion. There's 2 episodes. There's on YouTube. There's a video and there's an audio. This was on the audio of the Ricky Casso episode. So, anyway, do with that what you will.
First of all, start by not being a dork and being obsessed with like one particular guy that killed somebody because he's probably a scumbag.
This is episode 149. And what you people don't realize is, after we introduced ourselves, we've been talking for about 45 minutes. Just to the next part of the actual episode. This is going to be a fun one. This is episode 149, and we're covering Lloyd Avery II. He's a young African-American actor who had a minor role in John Singleton's Oscar-nominated 1991 movie Boyz n the Hood. Now, I remember seeing Boyz n the Hood, and I thought it was a very good movie. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good, and that was the thing about Boyz n the Hood, where it's just, it's been documented by like movie historians and everything, It's just like, the white community and the black community embraced this movie.
Yep.
It was true. It was true. I was one of them. I watched that movie. I wasn't expecting to watch it, or I wasn't expecting to like it, but I did. It was very, very well done. It really portrayed an accurate picture of what goes on in the ghettos of Los Angeles. But but his minor role in that was a very pivot. Help me out here. Pivotal. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there was a drive-by scene in the movie that was like a pivotal point, and Avery, Lloyd Avery was the guy. And just to refresh your memory, if you're watching on YouTube, or actually on Spotify, because I'm doing video on Spotify now, but this is him in that scene, and you'll probably recognize it. There we go.
Oh yeah, this is right before he shoots the radio.
Yeah, Ricky.
No, I was right too, though.
Yeah, it was right before he shot him. Yeah.
Yep, Cuba Gooding Jr.
Was that Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character? Damn,
I'm pretty sure.
I should have watched the the movie before doing this episode. I did watch another movie though, which we'll get to. So, put a knife in that. But
no, I was wrong. No.
Yeah. But
Cuba Gooding Jr. was not radio, so he was not Ricky, so he did not shoot a radio. I apologize.
But the drive-by
that's going to be a good joke. Fuck, it was way off.
The drive-by, it happens. The drive-by scene where he hangs out the window and shoots a man, Ricky, with a shotgun, and his character didn't even have a name. In the credits, he was listed as Knucklehead 2.
Very important role. He's probably glad his agent got him that one. Just
right.
You're going to be playing a character named Knucklehead 2. Oh man, this is going to be my big break. Like, actually, though,
it was. It really was.
It was.
But because of that scene, he landed roles in Doogie Howser, MD. Believe it or not, and I've got a picture of him in that one, which I will show right now. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Honestly, doesn't even look like the same person.
No, it doesn't. It might not be, to be honest with you. I mean, it was just Google search.
No, I'm saying he doesn't look like the same person between the two different roles. Which is
maybe in the face, and also, he wound up getting into music production. In fact, he even produced the lead single of Tisha Campbell called "Push," on her debut album, and that song aired on an episode of the hit sitcom Martin, starring comedian Martin Lawrence.
That was a good show.
It was a very good show. I don't remember the song, and I know the name Tisha Campbell, but I mean, I'm a metalhead. What do you expect?
Same.
So, but still, I mean, the fact that song was included on there, I mean, that's a good thing to have on your resume. If you're a producer. Singleton later cast Avery in his 1993 film Poetic Justice, which I've got a picture of him in that role as well, which I will throw up there right now. Yeah. Yeah, he looks really young there, and he doesn't really look scary, but that changes. But Poetic Justice was another really, really, really good movie. And it was made by the same guy that, John Singleton, the same guy that made Boyz n the Hood.
It's not a sequel, but it's kind of like I would assume like genre adjacent, kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. I've only seen Poetic Justice once. I've seen Boyz n the Hood like 4 times, but I haven't seen either of them recently.
I honestly, I couldn't tell you the last time I watched Boyz n the Hood. It's been probably almost 20 years at this point.
Yeah, same. But it was a very good movie, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
But um, he was, but in Poetic Justice, he was cast as Thug Number One in that movie.
Moving up in the world. We got
Yeah,
from 2 to 1.
and Knucklehead to Thug. um, he also had uncredited roles in "Don't Be a Menace to Society While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood," which was a spoof of "Don't Be a Menace to Society." And also a movie called The Breaks, which I've never even heard of.
I'm trying to look this up super quick because I I want to say that was, yes, that's the one I was thinking it was. It's got a Marlon Wayans, I want to say. I think.
Yeah, it was
Wasn't
a
that
Wayans
one?
Brothers movie. I haven't seen it, but I know about it.
Yes. This is the one I was thinking of where it's Marlon Wayne's character's like he's coming out of a store or something. These guys roll up and they're like making a bunch of threats and pointing guns at him and stuff. And he hits this button. He has like a remote, and this garage door opens and he's got like a Scud missile just like hanging out there. And he's like, "What you want to do?" And they just drive off.
Okay, that movie is now officially on my list, but I haven't seen Don't Be a Menace to Society, so I'll have to watch that first.
This would be like the scary movie version of that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, which it was fantastic.
All right, yeah, I'm in. I'm gonna watch that. He finally landed credited names roles in 2000's Lockdown as Nate, which I got a picture of him in there. Now we're getting closer to who he was because he got typecast.
Okay. Yeah, that one role as a doctor wasn't enough to really
No,
outweigh the rest of it.
but he did it very well, and we're going to find out why. And there was also a movie called Shot that was released in 2001, and his character's name was G Ride. And take a look at this one.
Oh, yeah, he looks like a very pleasant young man in that one particular scene.
Yeah. No, I watched Shot, and I'll talk about that here.
Yeah,
later.
Another one I can't say I've seen. I don't think.
I hadn't seen it, but I watched it when I was writing the notes. But I guess put a knife in that too, because we'll get to that. But no, I'm not gonna say anything about it. Just save it till we talk about it. But he was getting noticed, and yeah, he did get typecast as a gangster, but he was considered a rising prospect, a rising star because of how well he did this role. So, but life imitates art.
Yep.
And this case is the embodiment of that saying. In fact, the name of one of the sources is the documentary Death by Fame at season 1, episode 6, Life Imitates Art. Primary source, and I used that and a little bit of wiki and couple news stories. But after wrapping up the shooting, pun intended, of Shot in 2001, Avery was arrested for double homicides for shooting 2 random people back in 1999.
Jesus.
But that's all I'm going to say about that for now. So, what?
Oh, put a knife in it.
There you go. But let's get on with the story. Let's get started with it. Lloyd Avery II was born in Los Angeles on June 21st, 1969. His father, Lloyd Avery Sr., was a self-employed service technician. His mother, Linda, was a stay-at-home mom, but later got a job working at a bank. He had 2 brothers and a sister, and they lived in a working-class neighborhood in L.A. called View Park. Don't know if View Park is still... Don't know what it is now, but that's not important. Sorry.
It's definitely like a housing development. It's like a bunch of hard to say whether it's condos or apartments, but they're like there's a bunch of them there, just kind of all piled right on top of each other. But
I don't know.
it doesn't look like a terrible place to live. Doesn't look like a great place to live. It's kind of like middle of the road, kind of.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what it was back then too. So, but who knows? Lloyd Avery graduated from Beverly Hills High School, and he played baseball there and water polo during his time there. He also became friends with the children of Smokey Robinson and Quincy Jones. He went to Los Angeles Trade Technical College, and he wanted to have a career in the music industry. And he definitely had the right connections to do that.
Oh, yeah. He had the hookups for it.
Mm-hmm. Smokey Robinson recently found himself in the spotlight again, but for the wrong reasons. May 9th of this year, 2025, it was reported that Smokey and his wife were being sued by four former female housekeepers who accused he and his wife for sexual battery, assault, false imprisonment. And this was from 2012 to 2024. They're suing for no less than $50 million.
Ooh.
Yeah, and they said they never reported it while it was allegedly happening because they were afraid of retribution from Smokey, and they were worried that it might affect their immigration status.
Yeah.
I'm just reporting the news here. I don't have an opinion on this. I'm just putting that out there. I mean,
yep, same.
I don't think that when I think of Smokey Robinson, I don't think of somebody that could do this. But then again, I didn't think Bill Cosby was capable of the shit that he did.
Yeah.
So
it's always the ones you least suspect. Yeah. I think that like hiding in plain sight, selling you pudding pops, being a fake doctor on TV, then becoming an actual doctor, even though you're not really a doctor still.
But they alleged that his wife created a hostile working environment by using offensive slurs at them. Robinson. I don't know. No opinions. I'm just reporting the news.
Yeah, it's like I don't know enough about it to
right. I mean,
form an opinion.
It's like I want to throw an opinion out, but still, I can't. It's too early.
Exactly.
But Robinson's attorney says that they're just trying to get a cash grab from an 85-year-old man. But like I don't know what to think about this, but honestly, nothing surprises me anymore when it comes to freaking Hollywood.
No. I mean, no. I'm actually more shocked now when you find out the celebrity's actually a good person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, good to know.
Yeah. I mean,
but Keanu Reeves is apparently like a human golden retriever. He's just the nicest dude. Like, all right, I like that.
Yeah. There's a few of them out there like that.
Gary Sinise is like top tier.
Yeah,
like,
he's a good guy.
Hollywood good guy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like Dave Grohl from the fucking Foo Fighters.
Yeah, that was a weird one.
Yeah, it's just like, but he's rebounding from that. It's like, okay, he cheated on his wife. He's a rock star.
Or that guy from Weezer's wife that the police just like tased and then shot.
There is a whole
that was a weird one.
Another side to that story. Oh my God. I'm actually, you know what?
Put a knife in it.
No, don't put a knife in it. I'm gonna. No, I'm not. Well, nah. She wrote the book on Samuel Little.
Oh, really?
She interviewed him and wrote a book on it. He's the most prolific U.S. serial killer ever.
Yeah, I had no idea that she had done anything like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, she wrote the freaking book. Murder Coaster actually interviewed her. You know what? I gotta throw a shout out to Murder Coaster. Let me find the episode. I got to, because I need to have Matt on the podcast again. All right. Her name was Jillian Lauren, and she's also currently I think she was the bass player of Weezer's wife.
Yeah.
But one thing she did is she wrote a book about the Samuel Little, the most notorious, the highest body count known for as a serial killer in the United States, somewhere around 90 something.
Yeah, he was pretty close to triple digits.
Yeah, and but um, longtime friend of the show, Matt, Murder Matt from Murder Coaster, they did a 2-part episode on Samuel Little, and they also interviewed Jillian Lauren about the book that she wrote. She was
Really?
she was in contact with him for like several years putting this together. And if you can only imagine the freaking psychological trauma that it put on her.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, I mean, the episode 60 on Murder Coaster is part 1, and then they did the interview, and then part 2 is episode 61. So yeah, you might want to check that out, because I mean it was really good.
Yeah, it's like it's got to be especially weird.
It was really weird. It was really weird, like when that story that you were talking about went down, you know, Murder Matt, I mean, like I said, he's been on quite a few episodes, of CKCB, but he was on, and his podcast is great, by the way. He and his co-host are both like published authors, and his co-host Krista Carmen has actually, on her latest book, has won the Stoker Award, which is like the highest honor that a freaking horror writer can get. So there you go, Murder Matt. But they, it was crazy. It's just like, and when that story happened, they were, Murder Matt's just like, hey, all this is going on, it's crazy and everything, but you know what? No, nobody's talking about the book that she fucking wrote, and and how she spent years of her life, like, getting into a serial killer's head, and it fucked her up.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be especially traumatizing considering his medium was killing women.
Yeah, I mean,
and then you're just like locked in a room with this like unassuming dude that's a complete maniac.
Well, it was by phone calls and mail correspondence,
okay.
but still,
that's good.
I mean, but yeah, definitely check out Murder Coasters episodes 60 and 61 with the interview with her in between it. So yeah, you're welcome, Murder Coaster. One of my favorite podcasts, by the way. But anyway, like I said, nothing surprises me when it comes to Hollywood anymore. No. And it's, the Smokey Robinson thing, it's not relevant to this story, but it's worth mentioning because it's a current event to someone that is in the story.
Right.
But anyway, back to this story. Oh, man. Lloyd had a hard time with street cred because of the fact that he went to Beverly Hills High. But had he not been there, he would have never met the sons of Quincy Jones and Smokey Robinson. He became very tight with them, and he wanted a career both in music and acting, and he had opportunities that a lot of people would kill for, all because he was in the right place at the right time.
Yep.
But he didn't realize it at the time, and he wasted it, which is sad,
Yeah, especially, again, like you're saying, when you have that opportunity and then you blow it because you're being a bonehead.
Right. Although there's a little bit of sadness at the end of this episode regarding him, but, we'll get to that. I'm not going to put a knife in that. On his own, Lloyd lived in a particularly tough section of South Central LA that was nicknamed the Jungles. It was in the La Brea and Coliseum areas. He even had a tattoo that said Jungles above his left eye. And the Jungles is one of the worst areas for gang activity in all of LA, as well as lots of crime, violence, drugs, and you name it. It's just a very bad place to be. And I gotta wonder if Axl Rose was dropped off in the Jungles from the bus.
Welcome to.
Probably not. But Mo Forte, a casting director, found the iconic picture of Lloyd with the shotgun from Boyz in the Hood when Lockdown was being cast. Iconic scene in a cult classic? Let's get him. You know?
Right?
People knew who he was because of that scene. Forte wanted him. Lloyd auditioned for the part of Nate, and he nailed it. Nate's character was an inmate who got pushed around and victimized by other inmates. There's a scene in the movie where a group of inmates beat Nate up and stuffed him into a walk-in freezer. And they cut filming, and when everybody else went back to their normal cells, Lloyd came out and was still in character.
Okay.
He had to be left alone for about 20 minutes so he could cool down, and he was pissed. He was literally about to start fighting the actors because it was real to him.
Yeah, that's a little dangerous, you know, when you get that into character.
Yeah, I mean, Heath Ledger.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. Because, or even Jim Carrey with the Men on the Moon.
Great movie. Great freaking movie.
He said that movie messed him up really badly because he kind of forgot.
He kind of, because his character and Andy Kaufman's characters were so similar.
Yep.
Yeah, so I could definitely see that. I didn't know that, but Man on the Moon was a great movie. I love that movie.
Yeah, I saw a thing with him where he's like, I was, for a little bit, I had a hard time remembering where Andy ended and Jim started because he got so into character for it. Like, I mean, it's dedication to your craft, which I appreciate.
One of the best portrayals of a real life figure that I've ever seen.
Yeah,
definitely.
That was good.
But he was pissed, and he was like literally about to start fighting the actors. It was real to him, and he was difficult to work with, you know, for the rest of the shooting of the film. Nobody wanted to be anywhere around him. He even got into fights with a makeup artist and even other actors, and he just made the whole set a hostile working environment.
Yep.
And this movie Lockdown was filmed in New Mexico. One time during shooting, Lloyd got arrested, like for real.
Oh.
He was in the county jail, and he had gotten busted with drugs, and with possession of drugs and guns. No charges were going to be filed against Lloyd, but he was banned from New Mexico permanently.
Did he have any kind of record previous to that?
No, not that we know of. Not that we know of. And that's what makes this story even more mysterious. Yeah, because...
New Mexico is pretty gun-friendly, but he said he had guns and drugs?
Yeah. That's
probably where they hit him with it then.
Yeah, because meth is huge in New Mexico.
Yeah.
Well, hell, that's where Sammy Gravano went.
No, that's
he went Bad too. Sammy Gravano went to Arizona, not New Mexico. My bad.
But Breaking Bad, I'm pretty sure was set in New Mexico.
It was.
Yep.
But through lots of negotiations, New Mexico allowed him to come back and finish shooting his scenes. But what they had to do is they had to shoot all of his scenes.
Oh,
not necessarily in the order that they were supposed to be shot.
They just had to get them all shot and get him the hell out of there.
Yeah. Whoa. Hey, we both said that at the same time.
Hey-oh.
Hey-oh. Back in L.A. later in 1999, producer of the movie Shot, Echo Gaffney, an indie producer, was gearing up to start shooting the movie. Lockdown was getting pretty good pre-release reviews, so she wanted Lloyd. The stories about what had happened in New Mexico were floating around, but hey, they're just actors. Maybe he learned his lesson. Either way, Gaffney wanted Lloyd to play G-Ride, the main antagonist in her movie Shot.
Mm-hmm.
And as an indie producer, you want the best that you can get with the money that you have. And Lloyd at that time was still a C or maybe even a D-list actor. But he did have that iconic Boys in the Hood scene, and that was his claim to fame.
Yep.
So Gaffney saw landing him as a good thing. He could play the real deal gangster. Why?
Because he kind of is.
Exactly.
Spoiler alert. I mean, not that I have notes in front of me or anything, but
but
I'm just really good at this.
Shot was Lloyd's first leading role in a movie. Now I'm going to have you guess again. What do you think the movie Shot was about?
Probably some inner city gang violence.
Nope.
No?
Nope.
No, and I only guess that because of the typecasting that they did.
I know. That. I set you up with this one.
You do, you son of a bitch.
It's about a photographer.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense too, I guess.
No, a photographer who wanted to boost his career, so he decided to go into the hood to shoot what hood life was all about.
Oh, God. Some insufferable documentarian.
Well, no. I mean, hold on.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing she wanted Boys in the Hood from a photographer's standpoint.
Okay.
Shot doesn't even have a clickable link on Lloyd's filmography on the wiki page. But you can watch it on YouTube, and I will link it in the notes. But the photographer runs into G-Ride, who didn't appreciate him being there. G-Ride's a gang leader, and he's there with, he's there in the scene that we put the picture up there with G-Ride inches away from the photographer's face, yelling at him that, to take no flicks of his crew, no flicks of what's going to get his ass killed.
That's fair. I mean,
right.
That kind of life being known is not necessarily a good thing.
Right.
Because that can definitely get you into some seriously big trouble.
Exactly. So Lloyd was typecast, but he didn't really have to act. He was just being himself, so it suited him. He was intense and electric and real. And he could have had a huge career, which later on would have led to more serious roles. I mean, just ask Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube, etc.
Yeah.
They all lived that life, and everybody knows it, but they dialed it back, and they were never convicted of anything. And they're both they're respected actors now. Well,
yep.
Ice-T and Ice Cube.
I mean, hell, I believe
Snoop Dogg's just the cool dude.
He doesn't act. He just
exactly.
is himself in whatever the people put him in. Right. It's like Mike Tyson. Like Mike Tyson's not an actor, but he's in movies.
Right.
Because it's like, hey, we got Mike Tyson.
But they were never convicted of anything.
I mean, anytime you get to use Sabaton, I'm just going to thoroughly enjoy it because I have to.
Well, this is a glimpse from the future, from the time that I wrote this episode till later. I watched Shot on YouTube.
Okay, just now? It's a short movie, or you just took the world's longest piss. One of the two.
No. After I had written the episode, I watched Shot, so I had to go back and edit the episode. But after I wrote that last part, ragging on it, I just have to say that movie is right up there with Boys in the Hood.
Really?
Yeah. As far as the story and everything, I watched Boys in the Hood when it came out, and I liked it. It was real, and it showed me something about a world that I don't know. And,
right.
And I appreciated it for what it was. And like I said earlier, the movie was a hit with both the black and white communities. but shot tracked the same way. It's a low budget film.
And that one's not directed by the same guy. That was
No,
that was Boys in the Hood and what was the other one?
Boys in the Hood and Poetic Justice were done by Singleton. This was done by this girl Echo Gaffney.
Right. Okay. I wanted to make sure it wasn't all by the same person, because
No.
that would totally make sense. But
this is somebody completely different. But it tracks the same way. It was a low budget film, so it doesn't look as good as like Boys in the Hood did. But the story is freaking incredible. It really is. I mean, the photographer I mentioned, he's a white guy who develops a friendship with a black kid in the hood. The bonding that they had was really sweet. I personally love that part because I've been a semi-professional photographer before my eyesight started to go and I had to wear glasses. But I also used to teach photography classes as well. So I mean that part hit home to me because I've like, I used to teach photography classes, So it's just like, but the kid's brother, he was a gang member who thought the photographer was just using his little brother to cash in on the hood. The photographer slowly gains trust of the kid's brother by going on rides with the gang, including G-Ride, Lloyd's character.
Okay.
But it goes south. Of course it does.
Yeah.
But Lloyd, G-Ride, is extremely convincing in the role. It doesn't seem forced or fake or even scripted for that matter. I mean, it literally it seemed natural to him. But the ending of the movie, and I'm not going to spoil it, but the ending of the movie had me bawling as much as I, as a Generation Xer, bawled at the end of Clerks 3.
I still haven't seen that. And it's because of that reason that I'm like, I don't know if I want to watch it.
It's a great movie. It is.
One of my friends said the same thing. He's like, you're going to cry. And I'm like, I do that enough as it is. I don't want to do it in a movie.
It's a great movie, and it really is a perfect wrap up to the series.
Yeah.
But it stabs you in the fucking
It'll get
heart.
you. It'll get you.
But you know what? I loved that movie. It was great. I mean, it was just, and shot. It was very well done. I mean, the writer obviously knew some stuff, but just watch the movie, and I'm gonna link it. I'm gonna link it in the episode notes.
So yeah, stuff like that, it almost makes you wonder if the reason they're so familiar with it, is it personal experience, or is it having the right people as like, what's the word I'm looking for here?
I got
advisors.
I got several words for you. Put a knife in that.
Okay.
But anyway.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
But Gaffney could tell something was off about him. He even threatened the director of the film. The director was scared of him. He would make threats that sounded real and scary, like acting like a gangster on the set when the cameras weren't rolling.
Oh, that's not great. I mean,
no. He even showed the director of a loaded .45 that he carried on him at all times. Not to mention his posse that was also armed.
Yeah, that's not optimal.
No. But Gaffney was enthralled by how awesome for the part that Lloyd was. She chalked it up to method acting.
Yeah. Definitely.
But later she stated, and I'm paraphrasing, she thought it was possible that he had demons, but he was nice to her. And by watching her talk about him, I think she may have been a little bit infatuated.
Okay.
She talks about his long eyelashes, and if you look at close-ups of him, he does have long eyelashes, like eyelashes, natural eyelashes that girls would pay like shitloads of money for.
I get that. I have a hard time wearing sunglasses because when I blink, they touch
so
the inside of the lenses. It drives me nuts.
Oh, let me look up Echo Gaffney. I mean, I might be able to set you up.
She's probably in her 60s by now, right?
I don't know. I think she's probably about my age. But
yeah, I don't know, man.
I'm 25.
Oh, fuck, I wish I was still 25.
Yeah, ditto.
My back wouldn't hurt when I fall asleep.
But she talked about his long eyelashes, his gorgeous eyes, his height, his looks. I mean, you get the picture. I mean, sometimes he would show up to the set saying that he had, the car that he had driven there and he had just stolen to get there. But they all had no clue about just how far the demons had pushed him. July 1st, 1999. The shooting for Lockhound. It's a movie. It's a movie about BTK as a code enforcer. Damn. Lockdown. And the shooting for Shot was about to begin. I can't believe I got through that without stammering. But the shooting for Shot. But a shooting.
Shooting.
But a shooting was reported to police at the Santa Barbara Plaza, located in the jungle, and a man had approached two homeless people named Annette Lewis and Percy Branch. They were reportedly just hanging out and minding their own business. A car pulled up, and the man in the car was talking to Annette about money. The man in the car opened fire, and Annette tried to run away, and she was shot in the back 5 times as she tried to escape. And she died soon after.
Yeah, you'll have that. I mean,
Percy was also shot down by the man in the car.
Jesus.
Police began investigating. They picked up shell casings, and they discovered that Percy was still alive but in critical condition. He was taken to UCLA Medical Center and was interviewed as soon as he was able. But Percy couldn't offer a description of the man who had shot him and Annette. He was under heavy sedation, and police were hopeful once he was stabilized, he could be more helpful. But take a guess.
He probably didn't make it, huh?
Yeah, he died the next day.
Son of a bitch.
July 25th, 1999. Police. Yeah, when we start getting dates in here, we know it's getting serious.
Yeah. Dates and very specific locations.
Yeah. But July 25th, 1999, police still have nothing. No clue as to who could have done this and why. The area where it happened was the turf of the Black Pea Stones, a subsidiary gang of the Bloods.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we're just reporting the story here.
Yep. If I remember correctly, I believe they might be, just from what I've seen on like episodes of Gangland and listened to with other shows, I think they're one of the bigger like subsets of the Bloods.
Yeah, that's kind of the feeling I got too.
Yeah, like they do not play around, and they've got a lot of territory that they cover.
Mm-hmm. But Annette turned out to be the mother of a Black Pea Stones member.
Yikes.
So the police figured that this was some sort of gang-related incident. Maybe a rival gang who had a beef with Annette's son?
I could see that.
Yeah, that's legit.
Yep. 100%.
But later, analysis on the shell casings came back, and they matched the casings that were found from the shootings that had happened the previous March and April. I promise I won't do the bum, bum, bum again. There was like 3 of them in like 2 minutes.
There was a bunch there, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all good, though. I mean...
Yeah. But no, they were put there appropriately.
Right, yeah. And I'm not gonna come to your house and throw rocks at you. You know?
You gotta come to my house?
Nah, dude, you got like dinosaurs and snakes down there.
Hang out. You know, we'll drink some beer.
I will drink beer with you digitally because I'm not going where there's fucking alligators. So.
There's no alligators anywhere near my house.
Oh, you're in Florida. You're alligator adjacent at any point in time.
Probably less than a mile away from an alligator at this point.
Yeah, exactly. All I have to be worried about is being less than a mile away from a heroin addict at this point, and I know that I'm not.
Okay, all right.
As we got a bunch of them here.
Look. You're talking about heroin addict over a freaking alligator. I mean, I would take an alligator over a heroin addict. Yeah,
alligators don't slouch.
Just like the women that said that they would take the bear over a man. I would take an alligator over a heroin addict.
I mean, I've never had an alligator ask me for spare change or threaten to stab me, so
alligators
it's probably a fair bet. Yeah.
Alligators don't mess with you as long as you don't mess with them.
Yeah, I don't know.
PSA. Although if you're a transplant trying to move down here, yes, they will come and invade your house and eat you.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't want to play with the murder log.
But April 20th, 1999, a shooting took place at a mosque. This is a block away from where Annette and Percy were killed.
That could be an explosive situation.
Literally.
Brinks.
All right, fine. March 29th, 1999, a drive-by was done with the same gun from a Cadillac at Santa Barbara Plaza. The same place where Percy and Annette were killed. The Cadillac was registered to, and I will give you 3 guesses, but the first 2 don't count.
I'm going to guess it probably belongs to our fella here.
Yep, Lloyd Avery.
Or someone connected to him at least. But
no, it belonged to him.
Of course it did.
The police began investigating Lloyd, but they weren't convinced that he was even involved. He's an up-and-coming actor. Why would he throw all of that away?
Course. Yeah.
But despite him having screw loose, nobody he worked with on the movie sets thought that this was even possible.
He's such a nice kid.
It's a good story, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, and what makes it hard is the fact that this could happen to anybody.
Exactly.
You know, you could just be a nobody, and then you find a little bit of success, and
it consumes you.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you are, shooting people in traffic because why not?
Yeah. One actor from Boyz in the Hood who had worked with Lloyd said that the success that he found after the movie may have changed him and turned him into the character that he portrayed.
Yep.
Was he good at playing that part, or was he not acting? After Boyz in the Hood, Lloyd began wearing red, which is the Blood's trademark color. And his character in the movie Boyz in the Hood also was a Blood.
Yep. And that's not one of those things that you can just do. No. Because if you just do that around the wrong person, they are going to.
Well, yeah, I've got questions. I've got questions about that, and that's coming up. Yeah. The actors in Boyz in the Hood who had been tight with Lloyd distanced themselves from him because he started committing crimes and really embracing the gangster lifestyle. Now, like I said, it's coming, but I'm just going to say something, and this is purely speculation on my part, but I may be way off on this, but I think it's possible that he actually was a Blood.
Okay.
Why? Because gangs don't like it when someone falsely represents themselves as a member.
No, they do not. Like, not even a little bit.
Yeah, bad things happen to people that do that. And this isn't just exclusive to street gangs. It's the way with biker gangs and even the mafia, not to mention the frickin' military.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows? I mean,
the only one of those that I'm like, maybe don't do that because it's kind of a scumbag move is the whole stolen valor thing.
Right.
Right.
But still, I mean, the biker gangs and the street gangs take stolen valor just every bit as seriously as the military does.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just, one's legal, the other two aren't.
Yeah. That's very true. And surprising amount of crossover between the two groups, to be completely honest. Because there is a bunch of guys that were in the military that got out, and actually that's how 90% of the biker groups were even started, were guys that were in the military and then there's guys that go from like street gangs that will join the military specifically to get trained to go home and train their buddies how to do that same shit.
Preacher.
Yeah. Yep.
Episode, what was that, 147 that you were also on?
I've lost count of the episodes.
Clarence Preacher Heatley. Yeah. I mean, his number one guy was a freaking member of Special Forces.
Yep.
So, Lloyd had gotten into trouble for making terrorist threats, assault with a deadly weapon. He almost blinded a woman with mace. He even got busted for grand theft auto, but he got a slap on the wrist of all of that. But all of the evidence they had was circumstantial, though.
Yep.
Yeah, and really, it was. I mean, it's just, I'm not, not just reading, it really was.
Yeah.
But at best, he was a person of interest.
The only thing they really can get him for at this point is if they find the gun that was used in the murders was actually his. Because that'd be the only thing that would physically tie him to any of these crimes.
Yeah, but put a knife in that. But did he do some of the crimes? Yes. Was he a killer? Nah. But even if they had arrested him, how long could they have held him for without evidence? I mean,
I think it's 48 hours.
Yeah, exactly. But they might not even find any real evidence. I mean, you might be able to give them a pass on this, but this is the LAPD that we're talking about.
The LAPD also at one point in time, it might have actually been right around the same time period, had an active gang in the police department.
Yeah.
Where they were like busting folks and selling drugs back out on the street. And then,
God damn it. Where the hell is Dick Darwin when we need him? I'd like to hear his take on this. Damn it. I should have given him a call, but oh well. No worries. But
he'll hear it and get back to you, I'm sure.
He took Todd's death pretty hard.
Yeah. Understandably. I mean,
yeah. But the LAPD, we're going back to when I sent you that text message about the playing cards.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. The LAPD had gang playing cards with suspected members on them, much like the cards that the U.S. soldiers in Iraq were given during Operation Iraqi Freedom. They had pictures of and information about members of Saddam Hussein's regime.
And I may or may not know a guy that owns a deck of those cards. Not me personally, but I definitely know someone that has a deck of those that he brought home with him. Which, like, yeah.
I actually at one point had a frickin' Iraqi dinar with Saddam Hussein's picture on it that a guy that I knew brought back.
Now I'm curious because I bet you can find them on like Amazon.
Yeah, but I don't. But still, but spoiler alert: Lloyd was arrested in 2001. Operation Iraqi Freedom began in March of 2003. So the military got the idea for the playing cards from the LAPD.
Yeah, you can. Oh my God, you can buy them. You can. I nailed it. You can get them on Amazon. They're $32 for the deck.
Yeah, I'll pass. Yep. I'll pass.
I mean, I don't want to buy them on Amazon. I if I'm going to get them, I want like ones that still have sand in them. You know what I mean? Like
those are probably
authentic. That were there.
Those are probably reproduced.
Yeah.
But the LAPD's playing cards had a nutshell rundown of tattoos, physical features of the suspect that was on the card, as well as the most current picture that they had. Surprise, surprise, there was one on Lloyd.
You know what? I bet I know where they got that idea from, too.
The LAPD?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you ever covered the zebra murders?
No.
Okay, so that was in, oh Jesus, I can't remember where it was. But it was a like a black supremacy group that was targeting white people, and the police were kind of onto it a little bit, so they started essentially harassing the entire black population of said area.
Okay,
and
where was said area, and when was
I don't
this?
remember. I don't remember if it was. I thought it was maybe Florida.
Really? Okay.
Zebra murders. San Francisco. Sorry.
Okay. I was just like, okay, I don't remember.
But they would hand out cards to everybody that they had questioned on the street.
When was this?
This was. I'm just gonna hit the Wikipedia. Span of crimes was 1970 to 1974.
Oh, okay.
It was a Nation of Islam.
Okay, so this has been going on for a lot longer than I realized.
Yep.
But
and see if I can find.
But July 20th, 1999, one of Lloyd's former roommates went to the police, and he told them about Lloyd's street name, which was L.A. Deuce.
L.A. Douche, you say?
Deuce. Deuce.
I like.
Did you get it?
What's that?
Lloyd Avery II. L.A. Deuce.
Oh, no, I was too busy making L.A. douche jokes.
I know. But...
That went right over my head.
It's not exactly a hard street name to figure out, though.
No, God, no.
L.A. Deuce. Lloyd Avery II.
Yeah. It's like I was like, I don't know, this tail end of last year that I didn't realize that the nickname Trey is if you are the third. Like, oh, makes sense because number 3 and
I am the third, and I didn't know that.
Yep. Yep. I was like, holy shit! Like, I just thought it was a cool nickname that no, well, it actually means something. So.
I'm the only now, and but still, the former roommate also fingered Lloyd for being the shooter who murdered Annette and Percy.
Oh, okay.
Meanwhile, Lloyd continued to audition for movie parts like nothing ever happened. Why the LAPD didn't even question him after this is beyond me. And the people working on sets with them had no clue that they were working next to a real life murderer who more than likely was a real life blood who was hiding in plain sight.
Oh boy.
He then started couch surfing with all of his friends, effectively homeless, while still pursuing his acting career. He was doing this couch surfing to evade a potential capture.
Makes sense because you're not staying in the same place for more than a couple of days at a time. You're bouncing around like that. It makes you very, very hard to track, especially in the early 90s? We're at?
Late 90s.
Late night, still, I mean.
Yeah. But
may as well have been the early 90s, as well as the police work was going to be. Because this was still back when police departments refused to talk to each other to solve cases. And
exactly.
Yeah. Fuck the FBI. We're not giving them any information. They're going to come in and take all the credit.
December 8th, 1999. The LAPD got a tip that Lloyd was at his grandmother's house. They showed up and arrested him. Gaffney and the rest of the crew from SHOT found out that not only Lloyd had killed 2 people in cold blood, he did it a month and a half before they even started shooting the movie.
And she's probably like, man, I wish he could have waited until we were at least partway through so we could have some credit on this thing.
And you know what? That might have something to do with why the movie is so... It was... I'm serious. Watch it. Watch the movie. I'm going to link it. Watch it. It's a fucking great movie. I mean...
And stuff like that will also push up views on the video because be like, man, I heard this guy actually killed people. I want to watch it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that movie was so... That movie was so good. I mean, it's just like, it's so well done. I mean, it was low budget, so it didn't look good, but
the story makes up
the
for
story made up for it. And I'm not gonna lie, his acting, like I said earlier, it was real. But the police showed up and arrested Lloyd. Gaffney and the rest of the crew, I already said that. But they were in shock, as well as the actors and crew from the movies Boyz in the Hood and Lockdown.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch Lockdown at some point, but you got to pay for that one. That one's not anywhere for free, and it's only like $3.50. But I'm between jobs at the moment. So.
Yeah, every penny counts at this point.
Gaffney did a little bit of a Luke Skywalker impersonation, saying that even though he had done this, she still knew that there was some good in him.
Oh God!
Like I said, I think she was infatuated.
It definitely sounds that way.
I think she had some jungle fever.
He's cute.
But he was the bad one, the sweet one.
Those damn eyelashes are going to get him in trouble one of these days.
But when the case went to trial, Lloyd said that he had an alibi.
It wasn't me.
He pulled the Shaggy defense.
Yes.
But also before the trial, when he was in jail, he did something. Take a guess.
Stupid?
No, I wouldn't say stupid. I would say common.
Okay. So he's in jail. I don't know.
He found God.
Oh, okay. My other option would have been got married, but
he found God. He had a jail nickname, which was, take a guess.
I couldn't even wager one.
No, I didn't have take a guess written into the notes, but I was just going to see if you got it. But it was Baby Jesus.
Oh, God. Oh, that's...
He took to
Oh, that's bad. That's not a good name. At all.
No, but he took to Christianity with the same intensity that he did with his acting, which makes me wonder, was he acting then?
Was he acting both times? Is the other option. Yeah.
But he did really seem to be trying to better himself. I mean, he was a model inmate, and he even witnessed to other inmates about God. So maybe it was real, maybe it wasn't.
Yeah.
Only he and God know. But
I mean, or maybe he's one of these people where, like, once he finds something, he just goes all the way on it with everything that he does.
You mean kind of like us as podcasters?
Yeah. Or, model train enthusiasts.
Yeah.
It's like you want some people.
No, you're comparing us with model train enthusiasts? Come on, man.
Listen, as a reformed model train enthusiast, like, I can speak on that.
Confession, I had model trains as a kid.
Oh, dude, if I had room for it, I would definitely be like, going back to my parents' house and be like, hey, all those totes in the basement from when I was a kid, I'm taking them.
Same.
Yeah. Dude, I loved it.
But at the trial, there were problems with the star witnesses. They had credibility. I'm going to start that over again. At the trial, the problems were that the star witnesses had credibility issues. They asked for money in exchange for their testimony.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like some folks that are going to be willing to lie for money.
Yeah. Also, the police hadn't done a good job with the shell casings that they had taken from the scene.
Shocker.
They lost the shell casings from the shootings that were at the mosque and that other place that happened. They had no way to, the Santa Barbara Plaza, they had no way to prove that in a court that the casings matched. Also, the murder weapon itself was never found. No big deal.
Yeah.
If they had the first set of casings.
Yep.
But they
And
didn't.
having all the casings and the weapon would make it very, very, very easy
Yeah,
to prove.
right. But still,
Because-
they could have. But still, Lloyd took the stand to testify. That's always fun.
So this was all in California, right?
Yeah, of course it is.
Um,
Ben Franklin said that anybody who represents themselves in court has an idiot for a client.
yes.
And the fact that the defense attorney allowed him to do it, this means that Lloyd was the client of an idiot.
Mhm. So I'm just trying to my gun autism kicked in. Okay, so it wasn't until 2007. I was gonna say because California has a thing where everything has to, like, all of their firearm stuff has to be micro stamped. So like where your firing pin hits the primer on a cartridge, there has to be a micro stamp on the firing pin that will leave like an identifying marker
Hmm?
that is traced back to that firearm. So all they have to do is find a casing, put it under the thing, find the micro stamp, put that into a database, and it'll bring it back to whoever the legal owner of the firearm is.
Yeah, but they lost it.
Yeah, exactly. But I was thinking like, maybe this was by then, but no, this the micro stamping thing didn't come out until after that senator, congresswoman, whatever she was out in Arizona got shot.
Mhm.
But hey, so yeah, gun autism. It's fun.
All he did was get up there, reminded the court that they didn't have the murder weapon and that the witnesses had credibility issues. And now the alibi.
Let's hear it.
He said that he was not at Santa Barbara Plaza when the murders took place.
It wasn't me.
When he was asked about where he was, Lloyd said, somewhere in Hollywood.
That's not an alibi. That's
No, that's a rock solid alibi if you ask me. I mean, if I were if it were that easy, there would be nobody in prison right now.
yeah, right. It's where the attorney on the other side's kind of giving like that, like, you sure about that? And the side eye kind of, are you sure that you were there? Because that's not really specific.
But there were no details on a precise location. There were no witnesses who could say, yes, I saw Lloyd Avery in Hollywood somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
December 11th, 2000, Lloyd Avery was convicted of a double murder of Annette Lewis and Percy Branch. He got life with no parole plus 13 years at Pelican Bay State Prison in Crescent City, California.
And that's not a good prison.
No, it's not.
That's a very, very violent prison from the things that I've heard about it.
But something occurred to me. If you're a listener of Last Podcast on the Left, you know that Alcatraz means pelican.
Okay.
So wouldn't this make Pelican Bay Alcatraz inland?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. No, that's very true. Very true.
I mean,
I was really hoping it was going to make it out like Pelican, like, you know, people that go to the ATM machine.
yeah.
Yeah.
Pelican Bay is a super mech prison where the worst of the worst are sent. Damian Williams, the man who beat up Reginald Denny during the LA riots, is there. Suge Knight is there.
Not anymore.
That's right. He died, didn't he?
Yep, he did.
Yeah. But, okay. Suge Knight was there. Charles Manson did some time there.
Yes, he did.
Also, Ricardo Medina Jr., he was sentenced to 6 years for manslaughter for the stabbing and killing of his roommate with a sword.
Jesus.
He was also an actor. He was on Power Rangers Wild Force.
Yep. That was one of the ones I didn't. I didn't get.
No, but no, we were talking about that earlier, and it's just like I just remembered it and everything. Back then I'd forgotten that I had it in the notes. Since this is the third time we've attempted to record this episode. But while
Oh shit!
huh?
There's a guy here named Hugo Pennell who was one of these 6 inmates made famous for their 1971 escape attempt from San Quentin prison that left 6 people dead. Spent 43 years in long-term confinement. 23 of those were spent in the SHU, which is the special holding unit, which is longer than any other inmate in California history. He was stabbed to death during a riot at California State Prison, Sacramento, just 2 weeks after being released from the SHU into general population. So, sounds like another angel got his wings there.
But yeah, I saw that one in there, but I mean, I didn't know him, so I didn't.
No, I just saw him and I was like, holy fuck.
Yeah, I saw that. They're on the Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
But no, I saw that
Lloyd
one.
Lloyd Avery II's in there.
Of course he is, because he's our subject.
I know.
I need to have a duh sound effect. But while Lloyd Avery was at Pelican Bay, he had a cellmate named Kevin Roby, an Air Force dropout who was serving 3 life sentences for sodomizing, raping, and brutally strangling his 25-year-old blood-related sister.
Oh, Jesus.
He was also a very dangerous inmate who got in trouble for violence quite a bit. But he was religious, though. He was a Satanist.
Oh, cute.
By that time, it really did seem that Lloyd had turned his life around and was deeply religious. And, he was constantly reading his Bible, and I got to wonder, were they filming some religious odd couple prison episode reality show? Why would you pair these two up?
I mean, look, I don't know if we've ever talked about it or not, but in my opinion, Satanism is just like super edgy atheism.
Yeah, but there's also the other side of it, the theatric side of it, which is like people like Richard Chase and this guy fucking Roby.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, Satanism, as far as like Anton LaVey is concerned, is just basically atheism.
Yeah, with extra steps.
Yeah.
It's atheism, but you're going to church. Literally. Because I have to go to the Church of Satan. Well, I mean, kind of defeats the purpose of not going to church, right? And by the way, we got Mandela affected because Suge Knight is not dead. I was looking at it and I could have swore to God he was dead.
Okay. I didn't think he was, but I figured, it's like I'm reading my freaking notes here and everything. You're Googling. I figured you had it. So
yeah, and I'm like, yeah, he's dead. Like, no, he's not.
So it's not Mandela effect on me. It's Mandela effect
just
on
me.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure he's dead. No, he's definitely not.
September 4th, 2005, prison guards during a routine cell check came to Lloyd and Roby's cell. They found Lloyd lying dead on the floor in the center of a pentagram painted on the floor from Lloyd's own blood. Blood was spattered all over the walls as well.
An edgy nerd doing stupid stuff.
Yeah. Last time the guards had done a cell check was literally 38 hours prior.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's speculation that Roby didn't act alone. Roby was sentenced to solitary confinement after that. Yeah, but Roby should have never had a cellmate, period.
Right. I mean, 38 hours. There is 3 meals delivered. Mm-hmm. Probably 4 meals delivered in that period of time, and nobody caught this. Hold on.
Where I'm going next with this, I'm giving the benefit of the doubt on that. But even if there was a good reason for the guards not to check the cells for 38 hours, shouldn't they have noticed when Lloyd didn't show up for meals?
Yep. I would think so.
Yeah. it's still, if there is some conspiracy to kill Lloyd, which I don't have an opinion on because there's really no way to come up with one in this case, you would think that Roby would have been more deserving of getting shanked in prison just on the basis of his crime versus Lloyd's.
Yeah.
Lloyd's fame became his launching point to his gang banging lifestyle. Whether he became a gangster or he was all along, he did get a typical outcome of that lifestyle: blood in, blood out.
Yep.
And it just, if what they're saying is true, I mean, that he was trying to better himself and everything, even though he knew he wasn't going to get out, that means he's trying to help people. And you know what? I mean, that everything that I found seemed like that's what he was trying to do.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it does sound like he had a change of heart in prison and started trying to turn it around. But
why did they put, But there's also the I'm done with the scripted part. We're just talking now, but I do, the way that he went out, that pairing him up with that guy.
Yeah,
I mean, that makes me think that he actually was a blood. Because why else would they? Because he was a famous guy and everything, and he was also a blood. So maybe it was somebody from a rival gang. I won't mention any gang members, gangs names, but maybe they ordered the hit.
Yeah, I mean, being in prison, absolutely.
Yeah,
and
it's just like I said, it's just like it. From everything that I found, it seemed like he was trying to do to do the right thing, even though he was never getting out.
No,
he was trying to do the right thing.
And it's like thinking about it, that would be the right way to do it if you were, because the guy that killed him had no gang affiliations, right?
Not that we know of.
Right. So if you're willing to like put money on his commissary, or you're gonna, you're paying a unstable individual to do something incredibly violent.
But also there's the like, this going back to Stolen Valor. Maybe it was a blood that put out the hit on him.
Yeah.
Either way, it was a hit, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sounds like it was a setup.
Yeah,
at the very least.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm just speculating. I have, I don't.
We're not criminologists. We're idiots with microphones.
Exactly. I mean, I'm just saying, could it have been a blood? That's all I'm saying. But still, it's tragic, because it really did seem like that he was trying to, live the best of his life as, doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And
again, definitely seems like he was trying to turn it around and make a more positive impact than what he had done before.
But pairing him up with Satanist guy, Roby, that's just
bad idea.
Yeah. So, I'm just gonna say, rest in peace, Lloyd, because as far as the information that I have, it seemed like you were trying to do the right thing. And we're going to end the episode like that.
Yep. Sounds good to me.
There's redemption available for everybody. Yeah, he was never going to get out of prison, but he was trying to do the right thing while he was there. So, like I told you, there's kind of like a sad ending at the end of this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially if it's just, if he did that stuff, if he did the murders because he was wrapped up in a lifestyle that he wanted to be part of, but maybe wasn't, but also maybe was, and then you just made a really, really stupid choice. And then obviously it costs you the rest of your life in prison, which you have to live with your consequences for that, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, especially like we've said, he seemed like he was really trying to make a change, and
Yeah.
got killed by a absolute nut job.
Some of these episodes, most of these episodes, I don't give a fuck what happens to them at the end because they're just pieces of shit. But, it really does seem like he was trying to turn it around, do the right thing.
You kind of feel bad for him,
Yeah. I don't feel bad that, for him that because he got sentenced to life. I feel bad for him that because he was trying to do the right thing and he got shanked in prison.
Yeah, exactly.
And he got made a freaking, scene.
Yeah.
But,
it would have been different if it was like, he just got killed, but instead he was, splayed out everywhere.
He was displayed, and it's just like, and that also makes me think that there was some sort of an inside job on that.
Or we go the complete opposite direction, and this guy was just out of his fucking mind and doing, trying to do.
But why would they? But he's looking to God for redemption and stuff like that. Why would they have paired him up with this? He's trying to witness to everybody that he sees. Everybody that'll talk to him. So they pair him up with this guy. I think there is a little bit of a conspiracy there.
So, I mean, another way to think about it is if they did that to try to be like, maybe he can change this guy's mind, and then
they would have let him know.
Maybe,
and they wouldn't have like ignored the freaking the check for 36 hours.
Hey, there's definitely some negligence here somewhere, especially with that, like, going almost 2 full days without doing bed checks is a little.
But there is this conspiracy theory about this. I mean, I've looked into it and everything, and it's just like, okay, Lloyd Avery was murdered. Lloyd Avery was set up to be murdered. And you know what? Based on the information that I have, I think it's entirely possible that was the case.
Oh yeah, no, I wouldn't disagree with that.
Because he wasn't even in prison for a year.
Yeah.
I told you going into this that that there's going to be some, like potentially sad stuff at the end of this. So, yeah, that's what it was. So anyway, thanks a lot for listening, everybody.
Yeah.
Check out History Goon Podcast. Yes, it's awesome.
It sure is. And I think so, at least. My mom thinks it's pretty cool. So.
I think it's pretty cool. and follow us on your regular freaking, whatever you listen to podcasts on or whatever, and follow the same, same thing for History Goon. And, until next week, later.
See ya.